Okay. I think I'm mentally ready to talk about the worst books I've read this year. I want to preface this by saying a lot of these are more easily classified as disappointing books because they just weren't what I was looking for. They promised something and then they were not that. So I'm actually going to talk about three of them now because they're in front of me, and the rest of them are going to have to just be off the cuff. Actually, this whole video is off the cuff. Usually, my worst slash disappointing video ends up being chaotic. I'm also very hungry right now. It's probably not best to film rants on an empty stomach, but here we go. The first book I want to talk about is one that I read for, unfortunately, all three of these are books that I read for the Gina Card Deck Challenge. But the first one that I read for the Gina Card Deck Challenge that I did not particularly care for was The Shadow of the Wind. On paper, this is something that would be interesting to me. It's a literary fiction, historical fiction novel about a guy and some books. But I struggled to understand the point. I did not enjoy the way this man talked about women in this book. The way they were written about was wild. I didn't get it. Maybe it's not for me. And we could just go ahead and say a lot of these books, they're probably just not for me. This one just really wasn't for me. And I'm sad about it. Again, wanted to like this one, was hoping it was going to be a sleeper favorite of the year. It was not. It was very disappointing. And the audiobook, for as enjoyable as like listening to the audio was, like I said in my Gina Card Deck video, he he made music for it. He wrote his own music for it. It was so freaking loud at times when like soft action was happening and there's just this pummeling soundtrack. So you couldn't even really hear what was going on, and it was off-putting to say the least, and it made me regret having it on audiobook. But either way, not doing it for me. Sorry, Shadow of the Wind. You're the first one to get talked about. The next one we got to talk about. My boy, Gregory Maguire. What are you doing? Where's the Nutcracker? Where's the Christmas vibes? Where's the winter vibes in general? What was this? I could not tell you the plot of this book besides thing gets made out of tree. And I don't even know where that happens or when it happens. Random person in Mystery Woods raised by things. It's about death, I think. Somewhere. I have lots of questions and I got no answers. I am like 0 for 2 on Gregory Maguire books that should sort of be about Christmas things and aren't. So it's very much the joke. Like, if I had a nickel for every time I read a book that Gregory Maguire wrote that was kind of about a Christmas thing and it wasn't about a Christmas thing, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot of money. It's weird it happened twice. The last disappointing book that I have a physical copy of still here in the house, it's the Yanalasi Writing Camp for Girls. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like I said in the Card Deck Challenge video, this is like your conservative white aunt is writing like a pearl-clutching book. She thinks it's going to be so scandalous. You know what the scandalous thing is? She has sex with her cousin. She has sex with her cousin. I thought she was going to be fucking her brother. Like, that's how they led up to like this, and she's like having sex with her cousin. Yeah, that's pretty scandalous, but it's also Florida. Like, no insult to Florida, but also kind of insult to Florida. It made it sound like that was this big thing, and I get it was the 20s, so ooh, sex outside of marriage anyway. But like, I really thought it was going to be her brother, and then it was just her cousin, and her brother got mad about it and beat shit out of him, and they literally gave him brain damage. That's the drama. She's a young, like 15, 16-year-old girl. She fools around with her cousin because her family has sheltered her and she doesn't know anybody else. It's very Blue Lagoon, this book. And so when her cousin gets mentally damaged, they send her away to the Yanalasi Riding Camp for Girls because she loves horses. So she lives in North Carolina for a year. I wanted it to be gay. There was a character that seemed to have a crush on her. I wanted it to go there. I wanted it to be gay horse girls in the 1920s. It did not end up being gay horse girls in the 1920s. It was, yeah, I had an illicit affair with my cousin. Now let me seduce the owner of the camp while his wife is away. I can't root for you, girl. He's got children. Like, what are you doing? Get a grip. So, no. Absolutely not. All right, let's roll through some of the rest of these. We got The Whispering Dark. What the hell was that? Um, Zero plot. Character is small, uwu. So small, so delicate, transparent, like see-through paper. White and delicate. Did we mention small? Like, I'm so over books that describe their main characters that way. It is very weird. It it's very weird. I don't feel like I should have to spell out why it sounds weird to have super small main character that the guy just feels like he needs to protect. Like, ugh, sorry, it's bad. And then I don't remember the plot. I don't think it was particularly interesting or good. Was it fantasy? Was it real? Was it just in their heads the whole time? I don't know. It's in my classroom library. Maybe a kid will like it. I did not. The only good thing that happened in there was the guy wearing a Hartford Whalers hat. And I remember that because the Hartford Whales are now the Carolina Hurricanes. So that was kind of fun. That's the only good thing about that book. Everything else was trash. It really, the descriptions of her read like the pale version of My Name is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way. Like, okay. Anyway, moving on. I'm saving some of these for last because they're real bad and I really hate them. So the next one I don't like particularly hate, but was disappointing is long story short. I'm sorry, but your main character is clearly neurodivergent. And you should have committed to that. And in committing to that, you should have admitted that everybody in her life was a piece of shit to her. Her parents sucked. Her friends sucked. Everything about the people around her sucked. Was it good that she kind of came out of her shell by the end? Sure, but this is clearly a child that struggles with change. She has a regimented, like, eating schedule. She doesn't do certain stuff on certain days, and all of you decided that the proper coping mechanism for that was to just make her do things that make her uncomfortable and give her panic attacks. That is not how you deal with that. Like, I don't understand. I get it by the end. I don't think the romance was particularly good. It wasn't even like a saving grace for this. It also should have been gay. I thought it was going to be gay. I thought her and her roommate were going to end up together. They weren't. I feel like I need to make it just a disappointing list of books that should have been gayer this year. I didn't put In Nightfall on this list because I really did like In Nightfall. In Nightfall should have been gayer. Books that should have been gay. Like, I'm not all about like putting LGBT stuff in everything, but you already did. Like, the subtext is there. Just commit to the bit. Make it gay. Make it gay. Speaking of books that should have been gay, Cackle, a really big year for like teenage girls who are 30 years old and into witchcraft. What was this book? It didn't start getting like horror till the end. Why was it on horror list at all? It was not horrific. This was cozy paranormal, maybe, maybe. And really it just gave like obsession vibes. And it was very unsettling, like, that she was cool with it at the end. She's like, "Yeah, I'll be your best friend," and then clearly she's a witch and has left all emotion behind. But it should have been gay. You were obsessed with your ex-boyfriend for way too long, and you have this hot lady with magic that you basically live with now, keeps giving you presents. She's love bombing her a little bit, but, like, just just make it like a sapphic, like, drama. Make it a sapphic thriller where she's got to get away from her new lover who's a witch instead of just her bestie who's a witch. It raises the stakes a little bit. I don't know. 19 Claws and a Blackbird I also don't have. I've taken it to my classroom. This wasn't like awful. I did like some of the stories. I think 3 or 4 of them were pretty good. But when it's a short story collection and it's 19 stories and only 3 or 4 of them are really good, is it really good? So maybe some of my kids will like it, but it was just kind of lackluster to me. Okay, the last one before we get to my absolute 2 least favorites is A Twisted Love Story. We read it for the Literally Dead book club. It mainly was just like not what you expect it to be. I think I enjoyed it more than a lot of people who read it for the book club, but that's not saying a lot. It how can you describe it? Like, the 2 worst people you know are in love with each other, but I wanted them to do worse. Like, the only thing they did was accidentally kill a kid. I wanted it to be bad. I wanted it to be, like, premeditated. I want you to, like, kill his mom to get back at him, and that's what you're hiding. Like, he forgave you for it, but everyone else who finds out is like, "Holy shit, you killed his mom." Like, I want drama, and it wasn't that. It was like, "Well, we accidentally killed a kid. Better not tell anybody." But then, like, the best part about it was, one, the cop who literally could not view anything outside of her own viewpoint of being a victim of trauma. Like, she could not comprehend that this woman is not in an abusive relationship. She is, in fact, the abuser. And the little secretary girl who has made it in her own mind okay that she, like, stalks people. Like, well, I have to know them. It's my job to know the ins and outs of this person. No, girl, it's not. You don't have to. You don't have to do that much research. It's okay to not know every little thing about them, but it's just very funny. So the funny aspect of them kind of being in their own mindset that made up for it, but otherwise it was what it was. All right, the last two. No one is allowed to judge me for the last two. I read Psychic Teenage Bloodbath, which I just found out has a sequel. This was very Dead Dove Don't Eat of me to read this. It's advertised as extreme horror, but it has a beautiful cover. And I love the idea of, like, it's these two girls and they go to prom, and one of the girls ends up in a coma, and she develops psychic superpowers while she's in her coma and decides to take revenge on the people who got her. If it was just that, it'd be fine. But this is an extreme horror novel. So it's like sexual violence horror. And I can't handle it. And this is the book that told me I can't handle that. I don't like people putting things in holes where they don't belong. I don't like children involved in things. If I read the word vomit or poop one more time, I was going to lose my mind. It was never really horrific. It just kind of made me feel old and sad. Um, Also, I would like men to stop writing women that are attracted to things. Challenge 2020 forever. Um, I I don't know if this man's ever met a real lesbian. The way these girls talked about each other was very much a man talking about a woman and not a woman talking about a woman. You feel me? Oh yeah, sure, an ass and a pair of tits. Very nice. What about her hands? What about her forearms? What about, like, the line of her neck when she puts her hair behind her ear? I never felt like the girls were looking at the girls. It always felt like a guy wearing a girl mask looking at the girls. It just did. They didn't talk about each other in a particularly women liking women way. And, that's maybe nitpicky of me, but it did take me out of the story a little bit. And that's bad when your story is literally about a psychic teenage lesbian taking revenge out on the people who wronged her. I am devastated to know that she probably comes back, because the sequel takes place in hell or the afterlife. Will I read it? I don't know. Time will tell. Maybe I'll decide to torture myself, but either way, I don't know what I expected. Again, there's an audience for this. There are people who like extreme horror. It's not me. It's not me. Okay, the last one requires you to give me the benefit of the doubt. It took me over a year to read this book because it wasn't just a book. It was like 4 books. It was like a tome. When I say it, when I show you the picture, you need to not judge me. I read The Last Hour of Gan. The cover of this book makes it look like it's going to be like Ice Planet Barbarians or like all the alien romance fiction that came out for a while. That is not what this fucking book is like. Oh my God. I am torn. There are a lot of positives to this book, okay? I do like the slow burn romance between Amber, who is a human. She and her sister, Nikki, have been sent to, like, they've gone on a spaceship. They have nothing to lose. Their mother has died, and they're like, cool, we'll volunteer for this random space trip. And they get on this spaceship, and they're only going to be gone for a little while. They get put into stasis. Now, they're gone for 700 years because an asteroid knocks them off course. They end up on this random planet, and the planet is housed by, like, these reptile people. So the reptile person is, and I don't even remember his name. I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry to this man. But that ends up with Amber. And he thinks she is the grossest shit. He's looking at her, he's like, oh my God, she's so fleshy and gross. What is that on her chest? Like, why does her mouth move like that when she talks? Like, he can't stand her. And then it's like, haha, secretly, this is the woman for you. I appreciate that Amber didn't take shit. She's like, I want to learn this. Teach me. On their culture, the women don't really do a lot of that stuff. And so the guy, like, teaches her, and he has a lot of respect for her because she learns to do stuff. She learns how to take care of herself. The other humans are incompetent. I do like a lot of the world building. It was very a patriarchal society. They're very religious based, and this guy is like the sword of Shul, so he's the only one allowed to have weapons. Nobody else can have weapons. But there is an uncomfortable amount of sexual assault in this book, like acceptable sexual assault. When this guy gets the fires of Shul, he's expected to just be able to like bone whoever he wants. It's like a thing that takes over their brain and they don't think straight. I'm using sexual assault, but I want you to understand that it is a lot more than that. But I'm not going to say it on YouTube. But we know what I'm talking about. Anyway, all the humans except Amber are dumb. They are dumb. They are fucking stupid. They are so stupid. Even her sister, stupid. They do nothing. There's Scott is kind of the leader of the stupids and decides to make decisions. And the guy who literally lives on the planet is like, that's dumb. And Scott's like, what does he know? He's a lizard. And Amber's like, he lives on the planet. And Scott's like, meh. And he goes off and does his own thing. So end up the lizard and Amber end up alone. They end up having sex. It's not a sexy book. The things they do consensually together are awful. Like, they are boring. It's just like he's not even into it. Like, he doesn't show emotion like she can. She never seems like she's particularly enjoying herself. So the things they do are not like lovingly described. And so then when she gets like kidnapped by this awful, awful person and things happen to her there, why is that described in such great detail? I really need the author to sit down and tell me why that is described more specifically and lovingly than the consensual sexual acts that happen between the two main characters. Anyway, long story short, if you don't want to get spoiled for this book that is like 5,000 pages long and took me a year and a half to read, maybe stop here. It is revealed at the end that they go to this religious place. He's been searching for this religious thing. He's going to hear the secrets of God, and people have warned him away from going. He goes, and there's this spaceship. There's not a lot of technology on this planet. And in there, he finds a recording of the people who he knows as saints. It's just regular dudes. It's just regular dudes. They're like, oh, this chemical got released, and it's messed up all the men. We should create a religion that keeps us from like killing each other. And they make up the rules of the religion that he's been following, that he thought like God created for him, and he has a whole existential crisis. It's so good. That part's good. The relationship buildup is good. All of the assault, bad. I did laugh and have to put the book down though at the end. Her sister is the only woman left of all the humans because they have gone through shit when they left Amber. And instead of growing, this woman blames her sister, cuts her own throat, and dies. It is so hilarious. It came out of left field, and I will give the book credit for that. Like, it was so... I had to set the book down because I was laughing so hard that she was just like, you fucking suck as a sister. I hate you for bringing me here. Ugh. It's so funny. It's so funny. So it's disappointing that it was just thousands of pages of pre-lead up to relationship. The relationship wasn't even that lovingly described. And I had to read way too many assault scenes at the end. I could have skipped that entire third of the book. It was so much of the book. It was a significant chunk of the book. I'm trying not to understate it for you. It's so much of the book. Anyway, I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't know why I found it. I think I saw someone tweet it on Twitter. And I was like, I could be into that. No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Passed you. That was stupid. You shouldn't have read it. Anyway, that is it. That is the list of the worst books. I feel like I was proportionately pretty calm and forgiving to these. In the past, I have definitely ranted harder, and that is it. Yeah, that's all of them. So, sorry to you if you like these, or if any of these are your favorites. I'm really sorry. Not every book is for everybody, and that is very clear whenever I get to putting up my disappointed reads for the year. Not every book is for everybody. I'm gonna go eat something now, so maybe I can get out of this mood I've put myself in. Now I'm just thinking about that stupid psychic teenage book. Oh my God. Anyway, let me know what you didn't like this year. Maybe you can help me avoid pain and suffering in the coming years by not reading those books. Just let me know what not to read. Okay, bye.